This is OwlUp, where learning happens in minutes, not hours. For a deeper journey, explore all our courses at owlup.co. Now, let's dive in. Welcome to Chapter 1 of our series, OKRs, A Manager's Guide to Driving Results. In this episode titled Understanding the OKR Framework, we'll break down the essential components of OKRs and show you how they can transform your team's productivity. So, let's dive in. Your company might be hitting its revenue targets and still quietly failing. Teams are busy, roadmaps are full, reports look fine, yet critical goals stall. The paradox: effort is high, impact is random. Today, we're going to explore why that happens and what system fixes it. Most managers respond to that paradox by doing the only thing that feels in their control: adding more. More projects, more dashboards, more check-ins. Yet the more you stack on, the harder it becomes to see which work actually matters. You get status updates instead of strategic conversations, and busy turns into a comfort blanket that hides misalignment. This is where OKRs come in, not as another reporting ritual, but as a way to rewire how your team chooses and communicates priorities. OKRs force you to say, out of everything we could do, this is what we must do now. They expose trade-offs you're already making unconsciously, put them in the open, and make them discussable. In this episode, we'll unpack how to use OKRs as a manager to create clarity, not paperwork. Most managers first meet OKRs as a template, a neat grid of objectives and key results to fill in before a planning deadline. Used that way, they become another form to submit, not a tool you reach for when things feel fuzzy. The shift we're making in this series is to treat OKRs as your way to surface bets. Explicit statements about where you believe value will come from next quarter and what evidence would prove you right. Instead of listing everything you plan to do, you're naming the few outcomes that would genuinely change your team's trajectory. If you zoom in on how high-performing teams actually work, you'll notice something. They're not doing more than everyone else. They've simply made it painfully clear what winning this quarter looks like. That's where the structure of OKRs starts to matter. At a basic structural level, you're aiming for a small, sharp set of bets. 3 to 5 objectives for your team, each with 2 to 5 key results. That cap is not stylistic. It's a constraint that forces you to confront a hard question. If we try to pursue 10 big things, which 5 are we quietly accepting will move slowly or not at all? When leaders ignore that constraint, OKRs bloat into wish lists, and the signal they're supposed to provide gets lost in the noise. Here's what shifts when you keep them tight. First, focus. A designer, engineer, or sales rep can actually remember what matters without checking a deck. Second, alignment. When each function keeps their objectives concise, you can spot where priorities overlap in useful ways, and where they collide. Google has talked about using this discipline to keep overlapping work across functions under 50%, deliberately reducing duplicated effort. The same mechanism works at smaller scales. It becomes obvious when 2 teams are unknowingly solving the same problem in parallel. The type of work you capture also changes. Instead of activity, launch feature X, run Y campaign, you negotiate for evidence of progress. A key result might be increase weekly active users of feature X from 8% to 20%, or lift qualified pipeline from $4 million to $6 million. The work is still there: roadmaps, campaigns, initiatives, but they're now hypotheses. We believe doing these things will move those numbers. Notice the psychological effect. People can see how their tasks ladder into outcomes, and they can see when the bet isn't paying off. That transparency is part of why public OKRs are associated with much higher engagement scores in tools like CultureAmp. Contribution is no longer a story told at performance review time. It's visible in the shared numbers everyone watches. None of this turns OKRs into a performance evaluation system. Individual reviews, pay, and promotions still need their own criteria. But your OKRs become the shared scoreboard the whole team is playing on, while personal performance is how each person shows up in that game. initiative, collaboration, craft, judgment. Keeping those conversations separate, but informed by the same data, prevents two common failure modes: sandbagging goals to look good and treating ambitious misses as personal failures instead of learning about which bets were off. Think about a product support team that's constantly firefighting. Tickets spike, response time slip, everyone works late. Instead of listing improve support as a vague ambition, their objective becomes customers feel confident we've got their back. Key results: reduce average first response time from 12 hours to 4. Increase CSAT from 3.4 to 4.3. Cut repeat tickets on the same issue by 40%. Suddenly, experiments like improving macros, revising help docs, or adding chat support are judged by whether they move those numbers, not by how busy the team looks. Or take a sales manager stuck in sandbagging and heroics. Rather than hit quota, they choose make next quarter revenue predictable. Key results: lift opportunity win rate from 19% to 24%. Grow opportunities with mutual close plans from 10% to 70%. Shrink average sales cycle from 74 to 55 days. Now, pipeline reviews turn into coaching on deal quality and process, not just pressure about closing gaps. Your challenge this week: pick one messy area on your team: support, onboarding, reliability, anything that feels chaotic, and sketch just one objective plus 2 to 3 measurable outcomes that, if achieved, would make you say, "This is clearly better now." Don't overthink wording or lock it into a system. Treat it as a draft hypothesis. Then, take that draft to 2 people who do the work daily. Ask them 3 questions. Does this describe what winning actually looks like from your perspective? What's missing or misleading in these outcomes? And what current work clearly connects or clearly doesn't connect to this? Listen more than you speak. Your goal is not to defend the draft, but to uncover where their reality diverges from your mental model. By the end of the week, revise the objective and key results once based on what you heard. Keep both versions. The value here is noticing how conversation around a simple scoreboard starts shifting people from reporting activities toward debating impact. As AI tools mature, expect them to act less like dashboards and more like quiet co-pilots, surfacing patterns in your existing metrics, auto-suggesting stretch outcomes, and warning when teams drift into busy work. Think of them as a tide chart for your quarter, showing when conditions are rising or receding so you launch the right initiatives at the right moment instead of reacting late to trend lines that were visible weeks earlier. When you treat this as an ongoing practice, not a quarterly form to fill, something subtle happens. Patterns emerge. You'll notice which teams act like jazz ensembles, listening, adjusting, leaving space, and which play solo over everyone else. Stay curious about those differences. They're early signals of culture shifts you can amplify or gently redesign. Start with this tiny habit. When you open your laptop for work, jot a single O line in your Notes app that starts with a verb and ends with this quarter. For example, launch our new onboarding flow this quarter. Then, underneath it, add just one possible key result that's numeric. For example, increase onboarding completion from 60% to 75%. Close the note. Don't perfect it. Don't add more. Just let your brain get used to framing work as an objective with one measurable outcome. This was OwlUp, your daily step forward. To keep learning with structured courses and more insights, go to owlup.co. Until tomorrow.